Hello YouTube. This is the build video for my Pentium III computer, once again. And yeah, got all the parts out there, so we can actually start. This is the empty chassis that we're going to build in, otherwise known as the case, of course. Very basic little case, late 90s design. Works very well, has an 80mm fan in the front that I placed there. Also put a floppy drive in there, so that's all good. And yeah, this is the front, which is retro yellow, I guess. And down there is just a couple of parts that belong to the old motherboard. That's that Jetway motherboard, the 994AN-L, with a 3DFX Voodoo 3 card and a 30 gig Western Digital hard drive and 256 megabytes of RAM. What we're going to build today is a slightly faster little system that only really has one downside. Now that's the fact that it does not have an AGP slot on the motherboard. So I had to go out and find a PCI graphics card. I already had two PCI graphics cards that were you know, actually just the same card as that I have in this box right here. But one of them is toast and the other one needs to be reflashed in order for it to work, so it's kind of bricked at the moment. But it's another Radeon 7000 64MB PCI card. I've had a couple of those already. They're decent cards, passively cool, all that good stuff. So, of course, what we also will need is the motherboard itself, which I'll put on my bed for now. I/O shield, of course. This is the network card I'm going to be using. It's a generic card with a Realtek chipset on it. It's gigabit, so that's pretty neat. This is the Sound Blaster AWE64 Value Edition, with, of course, ISA bus, which is awesome. And this is the box that contains the graphics card. I got this in this morning, and it's still in the original packaging. It's not sealed or anything, but it's still, you know, pretty much brand new, so that should be good. It has DVI, VGA, and S-Video, so all the good ports that you need. And yeah. And of course there's a driver CD in there as well, which we will be using for the first setup, I think. And we will then update using the AMD website. So for power supply, we're just going to use my generic Q-Tech 300 watt ATX power supply. Just need to get the focus going again. And add some light here. So yeah, just a generic power supply. It's cheap, it's lethal, but I really don't care. I'm also going to be using this USB bracket here. Two USB ports, plugs right into the motherboard. And I'm going to be fitting these two hard drives right here. This one will not be connected at first, but just placed in there. This is a 20 gig Western Digital Protege drive. Probably because I'm going to dual boot the system at some point. And this is an 80GB Seagate drive that I will be putting in there as the main boot drive. The board in there that we will put in there in this video does actually support ATA 100, so we will not bottleneck it too much. It's a pretty fast drive, so it's actually pretty darn fast for what it is for IDE. So, you know, without further ado, let's get our hands dirty, because yeah, we're going to build something on camera for once. Should be fun experience for all of us. Alrighty then, I'm going to set up the camera and we will start to dig in. Okay then, I've got an angle to work with. Let's see if I can adjust it slightly, there we go. Well, that should suit us just fine. So first of all, I noticed that I needed to replace one of these standoffs, or not really replace, but actually replace, because it was in the wrong spot. It appears that this case does not natively support micro ATX, which is interesting to me. It's actually missing. There's supposed to be a standoff right here. I'll try to get it out a little little bit more on camera. You see right here, there's a blank spot. There's supposed to be a screw hole here for micro ATX boards. There is one for that one, but we're missing this one here. So we'll have to make do with one screw less. That's the way the cookie crumbles, I guess. Now we're just going to place the I/O shield. Sorry if my arm is in the frame too much. We've got a major bitch right here. Oh, god damn it. That nearly cut me open. Okay, there we go. I suppose that I/O shield was just a little bit crooked. I really need to turn down the heater because, yeah. Heating myself up just a little bit too much. So here's the motherboard again. The Gigabyte GA6VEML. So now we can start placing this one. This bad boy. Make sure we get everything under the tabs. Now, see, yeah. I've got a proper lineup, so we can start putting some screws in. Of course, only the screws that we actually can fit in there. There's one right there. Let's see where they put the other ones. There we go. I've got terrible screw management. And no, that is not what she said. You perverts. Then we can start screwing that into place. It's actually the first time actually doing this on camera, so. So it might seem a little bit clumsy, but I'm actually trying to pay attention as to what's in the frame and what I am doing, so. Well, this screw is obviously not working anymore. Need to find another one for that. This should do. And otherwise, just a standoff that's fucked. Okay, it's not the standoff, that's good to know. And we can adjust that one. As long as all the corners are in place, that's enough for me. I've built a couple of PCs that way, and it's always gone well. So, well, these screws did work before. For some reason, it's not really taking them at the moment. So, time to get the old screw collection out. Let's see if I can find anything that's better. Ah, yes, that should do the trick. Okay, that corner is secure. That one is too, that one is, and that one is as well. Okay, result. Now the board is finally in place. That's always the biggest hassle, in my opinion. I think it's time to take a look at the 3.5-inch cage and To do that, I'm actually going to switch frames. I'll be right back. Okay then, so here's our Seagate hard drive, and this is the 3.5-inch cage, and it was a digital drive. I almost forgot about it. So mounting drives in this thing is pretty straightforward. You just need to know which drive is going to be your IDE master drive, which is this one, and your slave drive, which is this one. Also make sure that the jumpers are set correctly. This one does not have a jumper, which means for this particular drive that is running in master mode, as far as I'm aware. Nope, it does need a jumper, in fact. Let's see, what about the West Digital? Doesn't say. That means I'm going to have to borrow a jumper off another drive. That should do nicely. Got a couple of quantum drives here that I don't really use, so I suppose I could take off one of them. So now we have to make sure that the drive is in fact in master mode. In order for it to run in master mode, it needs the jumpers on the left to be shorted out, so that's what we're going to do. There we go. And now it is set to master mode, so we can actually run the proper cables and get them both working if we needed to. Because I really don't want to get the drives out first before, and do all the jumpering work. Because that's just a major pain in the ass. Let's see, we don't want that sticking out. By the way, note these H's right here. They indicate where the hard drive is supposed to go. Because if you don't line up this hole, but you go further to the back, the drive will actually stick out, so. And we don't really want that. So as soon as we reach the proper lineup, you can actually put in a screw. And hopefully these screws work this time around. Because I know for a fact that these are also hard drive screws, but yeah. I'm extremely clumsy today. Definitely needs a couple more. Let's see, we've got some more coarse threaded ones. I've got a shitload of screws, but not really any more coarse threaded ones. So it's still slightly loose in there. This one might be a little bit too coarse, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Drive has to be secure. And it is now. So that is good. I can slide a West Digital drive underneath. And we should be golden. Let's see how this drive feels about these fine threaded screws. And I've used on frickin' everything that they're designed for. Well, quite a bit better than the other one. By the way, that Seagate drive is really frickin' heavy. Just saying. Really adds a lot of weight to the thing. And last but not least, yeah, these drives are not going anywhere. So that is the hard drive parts done. Next thing we're going to do is, well, power supply, optical drive, and the cabling, and installing the expansion cards. Oh yeah! After using some slightly different screws, we actually managed to get the drive in. Didn't actually know that it was that picky about which screws you use for your hard drive cage. But anyway, it's fixed, so that's good. The next thing we're going to do is install the optical drive for now. Which is right here. Wanted to use a white drive, but for now we're just going to use this one. It's a TSST Corp DVD drive. I think it's just a player. Yeah, it's just a DVD-ROM drive, so. Once again, a railing system, very easy to place, very easy to mount. And that is the optical drive done for, or done with, I should say, because it's still working just fine, so it's not done for. Now we just need to get the power supply in place. And turn the case around so we can actually insert the screws and fine-tune the mounting a bit. Let's see. This power supply really needs to be mounted by hand, because it will never line up properly by itself. Which is a major bitch. But hey, it's only Pentium III, so why spend a shitload of cash on something this old, right? Well, I'm a major fan of older computers, because there is practically no way for me to get something like an early Pentium or a 486 that I really want. I'll have to make do with the Pentium III, which is pretty much the perfect platform from the era that I started gaming and all that good stuff. It's not quite the first computer I ever used, the Pentium III, because I believe that was just a regular old Pentium. That one is already secured. Interesting. Now the other one. I'm sorry about that. So now we just ride all these power cables out of the way. And we get some of the expansion bays and cards and all that good stuff out. This is the PCI USB bracket. I'll be placing it in the slot underneath the ISA, or beneath the ISA slot, and that should be good. That's a pro for using a micro ATX motherboard in an ATX case. You've got a real shitload of workspace, so. Go. Nice and tight. Now it's time to put in the sound card. Let's see, is this even going to fit or not? Well, this is interesting. It's not really willing to take an ISA card in this slot. Cute. I think that ISA slot has actually never been used because it's so goddamn tight. Seriously. But as always, things can be fixed or broken badly by using force. So use the force if you can. For the love of... If there's one thing I hate, it's actually installing expansion cards. Especially with older cases from really flimsy metal. This one included. Or simply because the actual plates of the cards are actually getting bent really badly. And when that happens, you can barely get the darn thing out. Oh, now I see why it's actually not fitting properly. Or well, why it appeared to not be fitting properly. It's because it's at a slight angle because the PCI slot and the ISA are actually using the same expansion card slot. Or they simply put the ISA there so you could actually fit 4 cards and have the nifty feature of an ISA. Because now I'm trying to place this network card in here. I can clearly see, by the way, I'll actually turn this around for a bit. I can clearly see now that the expansion slot I'm actually going to use is the one that at first looked like it was going to be used for the last PCI slot down there. And now I actually have to pry this out of there, which I didn't even notice at first. Everything is going wrong today in this PC build. There we go, get the screw in there. Older systems are always a bit more difficult to work on than newer systems. It's not all the same. So the last card that we want to install is the graphics card. Which is right here. It will go in the top PCI slot. Something is blocking me from fitting the card, it seems. Okay, there we go. Wow, that's a really tight fit with that network card in there. That's like maybe, I don't know, 2-3 millimeters of space in between. We'll have to see how long that stays stable, but especially because most of this system is passively cooled. Okay, so that's the graphics card installed as well. Now we can start hooking up the cables. So yeah, IDE cables. The enemy of every person that wants to do any kind of cable management. You can never get rid of these. That's why I was very happy that I once owned a motherboard that actually came with rounded IDE cables. And those are amazing, really. Because quite frankly, you can cable manage them a heck of a lot better than these flat, wide, ugly, gray, huge pieces of garbage that they call IDE cables. So yeah. Alright, an AT connector. Yeah, we're definitely gonna need those. Nope, nope, nope. We don't. I haven't decided yet whether I'm actually going to hook up the floppy again. I'll have to look for the floppy cable that I have somewhere around me. But seeing that the floppy drive connector is now in a more convenient place than it was on that Jetway board, I think I'll give it another shot and try to use it. So, And for the sake of using that other drive at some point, I will use this IDE connector instead of the other one, so I can hook up this one if I would ever need to drive. So yeah. Now, I actually want to hook up the floppy now. Oh, I thought of it. There's the floppy cable. I'm just assuming that this end will go on the floppy drive. If the cable will fit. There we go. Push that down firmly. And manage that away. So, pretty much we got everything installed in this system now. Got the hard drive installed, hard drives actually, optical drive, all the expansion cards and expansion brackets really. And yeah, we're making nice progress on this. So I will actually reuse this thing for the bottom slot so I can actually keep dust out a little bit better. I'm really liking the fact that I no longer have to worry about a shitty CPU cooler that makes so much goddamn noise that I actually can't close the case up. Let's see if I can actually get this thing back in there. I guess I'll have to go back the other way around. Well, yeah, sort of. You know, as long as it's in there, it's fine. And it's in there, so. So yeah. Well, the cable's hooked up. Last thing I need to do is the front panel, which I will be doing off camera because I need to consult a manual for the motherboard to do this. Then I will set up Windows at some point and I will film the results and show you the working system. But yeah, this was the build. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Thank you all for watching. And the very last thing I'm going to do in this video is hook up the USB card before I actually forget to do so. And I actually need to rebend a couple of pins in there that I didn't notice were so crooked. They're actually really, really crooked. There we go, get that bent back. Sorry, motherboard. That should do the trick. It says USB, so that should be the USB header. Let's see. Huh. Interestingly enough, this header is not going to fit, I see. Because it's supposed to have one missing connector on the board, and it's in a different place than it is on the connector. Well, there's never a dull moment, is there? I didn't actually notice that before. Well, damn. Okay then, she's all done now. This is the next day. Had some software trouble getting it to run properly. At first I wanted to install Windows 2000 on it, but for some reason every time I run 2000 on it, after 5 minutes the whole system just, you know, force reboots. So I installed Windows XP Professional on it, and it seems to run pretty well now. Let's press the power button. The power LED is broken, unfortunately, because I've connected the wire to the header in every single possible way, but it simply would not do anything. So let's see how long she takes to boot. With 768 megabytes of RAM. Turns out it didn't really have a gig of RAM. It turns out to be 768, but that's okay with me. And that 1.26 GHz Pentium III S CPU, which is pretty much a workstation or server grade CPU, so that's pretty cool. That USB bracket ended up working and just needed to bend the ground pin on the bottom right hand corner. And I could connect the USB 2.0 bracket to it, so it will just run at 1.1 speeds, but at least I have 2 extra USB ports on it now. I could use a USB 2.0 add-in card, but then I need to take out one of the expansion cards, because quite frankly they're all occupied at the moment. So yeah, Windows XP is booted up now. Let's bring up the system properties. There we go, Intel Pentium III CPU S, 1266 MHz. With 760 megabytes of RAM, because the onboard video takes 8 megabytes and it cannot be disabled. That's this Trident Video Accelerator Blade 3D. We're not gonna bother using that, but you know, it's there. I've already done a test run with Unreal Tournament, and it ran pretty well for Pentium 3. On Windows XP, that's for sure. And a PCI graphics card. But yeah, overall the system is very responsive, works really well. You could even browse the web semi-comfortably. Just needs to do a couple of redraws and then you're all set for the Google. And youtube.com. If it will allow us to. Accept the goddamn cookies. It's by no means fast on a heavy website like this, but I guess it works. So yeah. Let's fire up some Duke 3D. To showcase that AWE64 MIDI. I love wavetable synthesis more than FM synthesis personally, but it does have a small bug under Windows NT operating systems where the sound is sort of, well, fucked really. But oh well. But nevertheless, it seems to run just fine. Nah, we don't want to save. Still a very fun game, even though it's already 18 years old. And of course, Unreal Tournament. which runs just fine even with 16 players on the map. Let's do that a bit differently. We're going to play as a spectator, so we can watch other people kill each other. No, just looking around, not really seeing any dips in frame rate. Seems to be in the 20 to 50 FPS range somewhere. If I had to make an educated guess. Even the long distance drawing goes just fine. It's just overall, it's a very decent little machine. It can do a lot for what it. Yeah. What I meant to say there was it can do a lot of the things that it was designed for at the time, of course, and even some, you know, relatively modern tasks. You know, the fact that the Pentium III is a pretty economical CPU when it comes to power. I mean, it's only like 30 watts of TDP, so it doesn't output a whole lot of heat. It could be passively cooled, as long as your passive cooler is appropriate and sufficient, of course. But yeah, you do have to watch out that you get a gigabit connection before you actually put anything in service like this for a file server or anything. Because limiting yourself to 10 megabytes per second of transfer speed is just not enough. At least not for me, I need more than that. But yeah, this is the end of the build project for my Pentium III Tualatin setup. Hope you all enjoyed this video. I thank you all for watching, and see you guys in the next video.